What is up, everyone? Welcome to Toffee Blues USA, your source for all things Everton, American style. I am Gerry, coming to you recorded from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Joining me, it's been a little while, but he's back. It's Cameron from Carolina Toffees, everybody. Cameron's back. Cameron, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Gerry. How are you doing?
I think it's all right. Every time we start one of these recordings, the weight of the day just sort of fades away and it'll be okay. It's what it feels like. This is good. I'm glad you asked.
Right.
Because before I was like, mediocre, melancholy. And then I was talking to you off camera and everything's better now. Where you been all day, Cam?
You know what? And Benitez is still our manager. The world didn't explode, and we're in 7th place. Yeah. The sky isn't falling.
Yeah, and it hasn't been a completely embarrassing experience yet, which I think a lot of people were expecting crumbles. So, I mean, I was catching a lot of flack from a few Liverpool supporters about Rafa, joking around before the season, but then they got serious and they go, actually, though, he's a good manager. I think you're going to be fine. And I was like, ugh, don't say that.
Right. Don't patronize me. They're good at that.
But at the same time, I think they were being sincere, and it does seem like he's trying to do a good job, not screwing around. That's cool. Yep.
And they were cheering his name yesterday.
Yeah,
so
they were.
We'll talk about.
It seems it. I don't know what to make of that. How should I feel? Can you tell me how to feel about that?
I honestly would have loved to have been there yesterday just to see that and hear that, because it was it was nice first off to have 2,500 Evertonians travel to a match and to hear them basically be louder than anything else in that stadium the whole time. So, but everything I've seen was that they were chanting his name and people were trying to get autographs afterward, trying to say hi to him after the match. So, yeah, it's definitely a different kind of vibe than it was a month ago.
Yeah, it's after thinking about it and hearing you talk about how like into it the away support was and everything, you know what? I'm not gonna judge. He's our manager. And if you're caught up in the emotion of the moment, cool. Yep. Sing the manager's name, because that's who it. But I know there's going to be people out there who have been like going the game, season ticket holders since they were like toddlers or whatever, and they're just sitting there thinking like, nope, not going to be me. That's a disgrace. And you know what? Yeah. I'll let them handle that. I'm just some dude in North Carolina.
Yeah, just enjoying the moment.
Yeah. Exactly. Nice.
We have to.
Yeah, we don't have any other choice. Oh man. So Cam, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've gotten to talk to you, and I'm so psyched you're able to come on. So we were talking before this recording actually started, about how you actually were part of the big blue mass migration to Florida for the Florida Cup to watch Everton just annihilate all the I can't even finish that with a straight face.
No.
Win the Florida Cup essentially. So Cam, give us some Cam experiences.
We won a trophy. That was fun. I actually saw that happen and watched them on the turf in Orlando do that and raise a trophy. I don't care how sad that sounds. It's awesome for me. But no, it was an amazing experience. We had so many people from all over the country, which was nice, by the way, to have that back. That I got to meet from LA, Miami, Georgia, Michigan, Chicago. The people literally came from all over the entire country to go see this, and we really made the entire stadium and city blue for a couple of days, and got some interesting looks from people because they were locals that didn't know what was going on, but they were intrigued. But they were intrigued. They just wanted to know, what was going on. And I told them. They seemed like, yeah, maybe you'll go. Maybe I said you'll have the most fun you'll ever have at a sporting event. Just trust me on that. And the best part also was, at least I got to go to the first game, and that was Millenarios. The Millenarios fans that I talked to were some of the nicest people in the world, and they were obviously so excited to see Jaimes. And right now, they and us are the only people that have seen Jaimes on the field. But I don't want to really get into. But at the same time,
I've got a 3-hour-long segment stored away for the end of this, just so you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to get into it either because I've got no answers. So
it was crazy. Just like people probably heard it on TV. Just how every time he touched the ball, it was just mayhem between both sets of fans. But overall, it was an amazing experience. I probably wouldn't recommend doing a game in July in Orlando, Florida, too often. Although that pretty much goes for most of this area of the country. It's a little difficult for the players, and sometimes for the fans, especially depending on how much you've consumed beforehand. But I will say, what was also a very good experience was the tailgate prior to that. They had said in credit so much to Orlando's Evertonian group. They were amazing. They set up everything. Everything was done by just so orderly. I mean, the meetups at the pub both nights went off without a hitch, at least as far as I know. The tailgate was great. They had a whole spread. They had everything you could have ever wanted: music, cornhole, and Tim Howard set up literally about, I don't know, 100 yards from the tailgate and did a Q&A with Darren Griffiths. So that was pretty sweet. We got to watch that too.
Wow. So very cool. You were telling me you met some people from the Everton, I would say Twitterverse, but also in just probably social media. Give us a couple of meetings that you had where, I mean, I feel like there's some names that are just out there that a lot of people know.
Oh yeah, these, I would call them the Twitter all-stars for Everton. They would be the ones that basically I get my news from, and it starts with let's look at Jeff Wallner from Cincinnati. I mean, he was awesome. Great to meet him. Obviously, seeing Tony again from Chicago and getting to hang out with him and his guys. The New Yorkers were all down as well, and being able to see and meet a lot of them was a great experience. They had their own booth and they were singing the entire time at the bar and just causing so much mayhem. It was great with their flag right behind them. And then Georgie from Los Angeles and his son, got to meet them. That was really cool. He's as cool as he is on Twitter, and maybe cooler. I mean, I've
seen video of his son, and his son's a baller too.
Son's a baller, and they both got the latest haircuts, obviously. So it's like, yep, they were looking just fresh. And then, golly, I mean, how could I forget the Vice City guys? I mean, they were as they typical Miami style, they crashed the party at about 11:30. The pregame on Friday night, and just absolutely kick everything up a notch. But those guys, like Jordan and them, it was great to finally put faces to Twitter accounts, let's put it that way, and not have to interact just on social media.
Well, the thing is, like, text is one thing, and you build up these connections through text, and sometimes we get to Zoom call, which is awesome, right? That's even better because we're seeing each other, we're looking into eyes, we're hearing, tone of voice. It's just connecting even stronger. but being in person, oh man.
Yeah, I agree. One last shout out will be to the guy, to all the guys from Carolina that showed up as well, and that I hung out with, like Jonathan and Gwyn and all those guys. You know, Gwyn hangs that 18-foot banner like in the corner of the stadium that everyone had to walk under, and without hitting their head on it. Just fantastic entire weekend. And I also one special shout out to the guy. The first ever Everton game I went to in 2016, 5 years ago, was Art. Art was with Carolina Toffees at the time. He moved. No, he had already moved, but he had moved. He lives in Atlanta now. But I hadn't seen him in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years since then. And so that was cool to reconnect with him as well. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Did you by chance, I'm asking this, did you by chance meet Aaron, Mr. Bowsy Toffee Tits?
Ooh, great question. And I don't know if I can answer that.
Okay, because I had I wasn't sure if he wore the shirt that said Bowsy Toffee Tits on the back.
See, I think I remember that.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like Jake said. He immediately grabbed him and hugged him the first time he saw.
I'm not one of the, I'm not that forward with people I don't know, so, unless I've had a lot to drink. But
yeah.
The one cool thing that happened that was very random, I had mentioned Tim Howard earlier. We obviously got to see him do his interview outside the stadium. We were in the concourse of the stadium at halftime, and Art and I are hanging out, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the security guard, who wouldn't have known anything about what's going on, goes, "Hey guys, isn't that one of your legendary players?" Like pointing. And we turn around, and it's Tim Howard literally walking right behind us. And Art sprints up and just like does a selfie with him. It's like, so yeah, I mean, literally, that was the kind of weekend it was.
Oh, that would be. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, these stories are just. I get all emotional for y'all. That just sounds like an absolute blast. Very cool. Well, hopefully we get more opportunities like that moving forward, which is super rad. So I have to ask you one other thing that has nothing to do with Everton.
Sure.
And you're not prepared for this.
Uh-oh.
I'm just doing it. I'm throwing caution to the wind. I'm just going to do it. I've seen the Carolina. Okay, let me preface this. Sometimes on the show, we talk about pop culture, things to watch, good things to watch. Okay, maybe good things to listen to, maybe music. I have noticed the Carolina Toffees account over the past couple months, maybe a little longer, starting to show GIFs or GIFs, however you want to call it, whatever, from a show on Netflix that is one of my favorite comedy shows right now.
It's got to be.
And the new season just dropped this summer.
It's amazing.
And I'm sorry, there's no one else that likes it that I talk to, and it kills me because it's brilliant. Me and my wife and I love it, and no one else.
I've fallen off the couch laughing at some of the stuff that has happened in that season.
So good. So let's share with everybody what we're talking about. So good.
I believe you have to be talking about I Think You Should Leave. And yeah, I actually have the same observation about that. Whenever I respond to somebody with a GIF of Tim Robinson doing something, I get like maybe 2 or 3 likes. I think it's just because maybe people across the pond are kind of like, what is that? And what is this show? And it's hard for me to, like, real quick. It's Tim Robinson was on Saturday Night Live. He left, and it's because he wasn't allowed to do a lot of things that he wanted to do in terms of writing and acting. And he actually makes fun of that in one of the sketches. But I would describe Tim Robinson as a very off the wall, like goofy, kind of will say anything, shoot from the hip type comedic actor. And You have to, I would say it takes a little bit to get into it, but once you're into it, those seasons go by like that, because it's just sketch after sketch after sketch. And I will just say right now, like, and I have one of my good friends lives up in DC, is addicted to the show also. And we will just quote the show all the time now. And I just will always hit him with something from the Driver's Ed sketch, because it's just, I have never laughed so hard at something as because everyone's been through Driver's Ed. So it starts out exactly how you would expect it to, but then it just takes a hard left turn, like a lot of his sketches do. So,
tables.
What is his job? What is her job?
So for everybody out there who doesn't know the show, okay, it's weird. You just need to know.
It is weird.
Just prep for that, and not every sketch is going to resonate with you immediately. Later on, subsequent viewings, some sketches may resonate more after, but it's weird. It's just a weird show. And I feel like if you grew up in the 90s watching the show The Kids in the Hall and you like it a lot,
yes,
this is the kind of alternative type of sketch comedy. It's, if you like that kind of weird stuff and you're not afraid of, getting dark, hey, Mr. Show, what a great idea. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Very Mr.
And
Show.
by the way, Bob Odenkirk makes a guest appearance.
Yes, he does. Absolutely. A lot of random appearances from some really funny people on that show.
Can't wait for the third season.
Oh my gosh. I just keep crossing my fingers and hoping there is a third season. So yeah.
I will say this, like I told my friend this, it's going to really annoy people, or people are going to really like it. But there's going to be a match at some point that all I'm going to do in terms of live tweeting the match. Maybe it's Saturday, that it's all just going to be, I think you should leave gifts. I've told him this, that show has a gift for literally any situation. You can pretty much figure out what's going on in the life of the Carolina Toffees by whatever gif I post of Tim Robinson or anybody from that show. So if you'll know how this match is going on Saturday by what I'm not going to put any context to it. It's just going to be that gift.
Yeah, and so there's nothing. We can't really describe the sketches. They're too weird. Okay? They're too weird. They're just absurd. And so so I don't want to belabor it too much, because if you have a couple of dudes just talking about how funny something is and they don't tell you what it is, I know whatever. But I'm telling you, it is worth your time if you're into some weird humor. That's what I'll say.
And I'm someone who doesn't like doing that at all, because I got bombarded about Game of Thrones for 10 years. So, and I was just like, look, if you like Game of Thrones, that's great. I watched 2 episodes and I was like, you know what? That's not me. But I'm also not going to criticize you for liking it, because people like that. My brother-in-law and my sister loved it. I was just like, I don't hate it. I just thought it was a good show, but it's just not for me.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody, you should check it out and watch it, and let's just talk about it on Twitter. Just saying. All right. I want everybody singing about the night the skeletons came to life. Just saying. That's it.
Right. There it is, right there.
Okay.
Follow me in G.
So really quick, I have to do something, Cam. At the last show 2 weeks ago, there was a really good question by Mark about 330 million pound signings, and I told him that I would do a little research and come back and be better than last time. So I'm just gonna say 2 signings right off the top of my head that I wouldn't mind for 30 million. Yves Bissouma, all right, from Brighton. Lucas Klosterman from RB Leipzig, the right back. These are just, could you get them for close to 30, right? Those are 2, and I've got a few more, but that's coming in the mailbag segment. I'm going to go ahead and plug the mailbag segment. Someone talks about potential attacking solutions, and so I've got some, all of them around the same cost. So yeah, anyway, I just want to say, Mark, I did better I did some research and I thought about it. So I promised you I would. Next question. Wow, what a toss. You should have seen that. It went like 10 feet.
That across the room.
Yes. It's
Nice.
Magnificent. The only way it could have been better is if it like a ninja star, like stuck in the wall. All right. So we should talk about we have 2 matches recently. Let's discuss these. We don't have to talk about it too long, but we should acknowledge that they happened. At the weekend. Saturday, Leeds. That was an away match at Leeds. And what did you think? I mean, I had to watch it later on. I didn't think we embarrassed ourselves. What was your overall thoughts? And let's get specific about, lineup, who played well, goals.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the lineup was fine. I think hindsight is 2020 with Michael Keane. We can get into that later. But I thought Rafa brought out a side that was going to get the job done. And Ellen Road we're the first club that gets to deal with Ellen Road in 17 years with fans. So not surprising. It was an amazing, amazing crowd. They are obviously Leeds fans are some of the most legendary, and for a reason. And there's a lot of pent-up frustration there. So it was a great atmosphere. It sounded like, at least. And but I thought we played really well. I thought we played well enough that we should have taken all 3 away from that match. Mm-hmm. And Dom was bossing around everybody, so our midfield was playing well. Obviously, Dom gets that penalty in the box. It was the correct call. I could go off on a tangent of how already in the first 2 weeks the officiating, refereeing has been like light years better than it was last year.
Yep.
And because in the past that would not have happened, they would have just kept playing. And but right call. And Dom, as soon as that whistle blew, he just ran up and hit it, which is exactly what I like seeing, by the way. Enough of this, like, standing around, like, deciding when, like, for 8 minutes, how long you're going to stand there, like, and before you hit it. And he just ran up there and just boomed it right past Meisler from Leeds. Mm-hmm. It's a great penalty. And obviously, I think DCL has made himself our PK taker from this point forward. Yeah. We were talking about this at the pub, he needs to establish himself as our penalty taker. And
yeah, it was nice. I mean, he was just so composed. And I think just getting the practice of slotting one home and being in front of the net and continuing to do it over and over again, it's just it's only going to give him more confidence in front of goal.
Agreed. And it's like he's what is he, 24, 25?
I don't know, but he's too flipping young.
It's a hard
crazy
question. These guys, he could be 15 for all I know. He's just that good, though. I mean, he gets a weird amount of stick on social media, and I don't understand why. Because honestly, for me, he's still one of the most underrated strikers in the league, and he continues to add a layer to his game every year. Last year, he really learned how to finish, especially with his head, and now he's added if he's added penalties to his game. I mean, he's going to be. I'm already telling everyone out there right now, if you guys are worried about Richarlison leaving, you got to start worrying about Dom, about what kind of contract he's going to be getting sought at. We've already seen kind of what happened with United and Spurs looking at him. They're going to offer a ton of money for him. Someone will. And it's going to be something we either match or we just say, you know what, we're going to have to move on. Because that's just how he's getting to that point. I think this year he's going to reach that point. Because he really, in my opinion, is good enough. He could win the Golden Boot. In Premier League, he was close last year. He's going to get there at some point.
How do you feel about people's frustrations? Because I mean, he could have had a hat trick. Could have had a hat trick, right? And do you think if we win that, if we take 3 points, they're not as vocal about him missing those chances, and it's just the disappointment of not getting all 3?
Yeah, I more the frustration at the team itself not finishing off Leeds. I'm one of those people there. I will do the exact same thing. I'll just say, oh, come on, man. You're also, the flip side of this is you're 24 or whatever. You've reached this point where you need to be our striker, our number 9, who finishes everything that's in the box in front of you. And that will be, I think that is justified criticism. I mean, if he misses, well, like for instance, if it happens Saturday, if he misses a sitter in the box, it's going to start up again. And I mean, I won't be immune to that. It's like, there's one thing for someone like Nkunku yesterday to completely miss that, 2 balls right in front of the net because he doesn't play and he's a left back. But it's quite another when you have a striker who does on occasion miss those right in front of the goal, and it does frustrate, especially towards the end of matches. But I'm of the opinion where if we give him a little bit more time, I think Dom works his ass off and he knows that he needs to finish those. And it's just a matter of, if he finish that, he will quiet everybody if he goes out and he scores 2 or 3 goals this weekend and beyond. So,
yeah, I feel like you talk about that game, you got to talk about Dom. He got the chances. I mean, it was exciting, the fact that he got there. He got one of them was an intricate ball played across, I think, from Gray. It's just sliced through everybody, and he somehow still got a foot on it. His concentration level was really good to actually get a foot on it. Just didn't slip through. It was a decent save. And then there was another ball that it was played across by Iwobi. It was a really, really nice ball, through ball right to him. And, another one-on-one. And again, keeper made a good save. And the guy could have had a hat trick. I don't know. I think he's going to miss more. It's going to keep happening. He's young. He's going to make them too. That's the point. The more we play, we get more opportunities. The better we get more opportunities. The more opportunities we get, the more. That's why, I always amazed, like when I'm always amazed when people are surprised when attacking squads get lots of PKs. They have tons of chances, and they're in the box a lot more often. So naturally, they're gonna, but it, and also, Big Six usually has a little bias, but whatever. That is a thing.
to maybe like go off of that, we're in like the first 2 matches. Well, let's start with the second half. The second half of Southampton, and then going in, because I think it went into the Leeds match. This was different than, especially for the last 4 months of last year, where we had no chances. Midfield was awful and wasn't creating anything. Now it felt like every other minute we were in their half of the pitch and we were creating chances. And it almost felt like it was foreign to Dom and some of the guys, because it's just like, wow, there's another one and another one and another one.
Yeah.
So, if that keeps up, obviously, you got to finish those. But it's at least encouraging that the midfield that's behind these guys and the back 4 are creating these chances for them really fast and quickly, I might add. They're up the pitch from the time that Pickford has it. It's straight up and almost into their box within like 3 or 4 seconds. So this kind of hit and run tactic with us is something that I can definitely get behind if it continues to create these kind of chances. Now Dom just has to finish it. You're right.
Damari Gray,
quality player,
looking pretty good. That goal was. I mean, he threw a little move on that guy and put it far post, side netting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was quite a finish. I mean, it went from, oh no, because he mishandled it a little bit, and then all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, like the far post, you're right. And then and then he did the celebration that we all do at one point in our lives, which is try to slide and then whoops, like
nope.
tumbling over. And
Just roll with it.
yeah, but that was awesome, and especially because he seems to be so genuinely happy now playing. I
Mhm.
think he was in a bad way after he left Leicester, and then obviously didn't work out in Germany, and now
Mhm.
he's back where he wants to be. And I think he really is enjoying himself at Everton. He not only is he getting his chances, he's so good off the ball and where his movement, his positioning is, and that's why he
Mhm.
was able to set up and get to that point and score. Um, so it's unfortunate that the team wasn't able to help him out and get that three, because that's a game-winning goal. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
they could not hold on. But I would say just leading into Rafinha, I mean, that was
Yeah.
a incredible. I mean, they should have cleared that ball, but it was an
Yeah.
incredible goal from where he was.
It was a really nice shot. I was watching it, trying to
Mhm.
like think like, okay, whose fault is this? You know, be
Yeah.
that blamer. And so I was like, okay, Coleman, are you blocking the?
Mm.
Are you closing down the face of the? Yes, you are. He curled it around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good shot.
Yeah.
Now, however, I should point out the first Leeds goal. There
Do we
may be
have
some
to?
blame to be thrown.
Oh boy. I mean, Keane is an easy scapegoat, and for good reason. I mean, he really I've it's kind of like, and like I said, my brother-in-law's a United fan, and he goes, I really like, he goes, I like Harry Maguire. I'm like, yeah, he's a good player, but when he goes up too far, like, and gets caught out
Mhm.
outside the box, he gets himself in a lot of trouble, like he did last week. And that's the same thing with Keane. Keane is
Mhm.
now, I feel like Keane has gotten a lot slower in the last
Yeah.
12 months. And for whatever reason, for these couple of games, in the first two games, not yesterday's another story, but he has found himself in no man's land as a center half, especially one that doesn't have any
Yeah.
speed. And well, you can put maybe some of the blame on Luka Dean, but again, he was caught out a little bit, but he at least made the attempt to try and stop. He slid tackle to try to stop the play, and that didn't happen. And then Keane just completely overran it, and all of a sudden there he is, he's 5 yards behind Bamford, and that you just knew at that point it was like, oh crap. And we were at
It was
and I
Click.
was who finished that off? Was it
I think it was Click.
Click
I
43, I
think,
believe?
yeah, I think it was Click. I was trying to remember. Bamford was
Yeah,
definitely
because
getting his name called a
Bamford's the
lot.
one who got by everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was everywhere. And Bamford was the one who got by Keane. And but
Mm.
I think somebody had said on Twitter after the latest mess yesterday that Keane looks like he needs a break, which is an odd thing to say 3 games into the season. But
Yeah.
there may be a point there, just because is it because he's mentally not sharp, or is there something physically wrong with him? I don't know, but I don't know
Maybe
what's
he's
going
not.
on.
Maybe he's not jiving with management. There
Yeah.
could be. Maybe he's going through some stuff where he's down. Where if people have that, it happens. So I
Mhm.
mean, we'll get into this later, but I could see him getting a break this weekend.
I would hope that's what happens.
So,
I honestly, with the depth that they have at center half, especially
mhm.
if Ben Godfrey's back, like
Yep.
there is no reason to play Keane this weekend.
Yeah, I'd give him a little time to kind of recover and try to. Sometimes just unplugging is good.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, let's move on.
Yep.
1 point was not the worst out of that result, by the way. I do think we
No.
easily could have
Yep.
walked away with all 3 points.
Totally
Easily.
agree. I think that I was initially for a little bit disappointed that we didn't get three, but again,
Yeah.
what the main ask is for teams: get your 3 points at home. If you can snag one on the road every time, good. Then go
Mhm.
back and snag the three at home that you need to get. But if you keep getting points every week, that's all that matters.
So we roll up Carabao Cup match
Mhm.
Tuesday, and you see the formation, you see the lineup, and you see we're running 3 or 5 at the back, however you want to say it.
Right.
Um, your heart sink a little, thinking, "Oh my gosh, we're playing at Huddersfield and we're rolling up, with 5 in the back."
Well,
Uh,
to be honest with you, Gerry, I had no idea what kind of lineup he was going to roll with
mm,
yesterday. He had said things like, "We've got to give guys some rest," but then he also said, "I've got to play the best squad I can." And
yeah.
so that's kind of like, well, which is it? And we got a little bit of both, I would say. And
Mm,
I was so happy, to be honest with you, to see Nkunku playing left back. I mean,
me too.
it was such like, oh wow, it's September again from last year, and so we're gonna be first in the league again in a couple of weeks. So, but in all seriousness, like it was nice to see him back. That we have a
Yeah.
manager that trusts him enough. At least, I mean, I know it's second round of the championship side, but Huddersfield had rolled into that match on a roll. I mean, they had won 3 straight matches, I believe, up to that point, and so they were going to be a tough out. But I
Mm,
was glad to see him trust John Joe Kenny, who had a disastrous year last
yeah.
year, and then Nkunku, who I thought would deserve to be able to get a chance in this cup match. Obviously, Begovic back there, who played so well in the Florida Cup, and then I was a little surprised again that Michael Keane was back there, and he had played so many minutes. He played every minute up to that point that it was kind of like, okay, can you give him a break? But I guess with Godfrey had traveled with the team, but he wasn't part of the squad,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that was a little weird. I guess they still didn't think he was ready.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. I mean, I initially thought, is this going to be like a 5-3-2 but it turns out, I guess it was more like a 3-5-2, or kind of a hybrid that he kept
Yeah.
mixing around, because obviously Kenny and Nkunku can go box to box. So it was more like they can travel up with the midfielders.
Yeah, that's what I
So
was gonna say. It switches based on possession, right? So we
yeah,
have the ball, it's 3 in the back. They have the ball, it's 5 in the back. And it's I think it's actually really smart because not only does it take the pressure off of Nkunku and Kenny to give
mhm,
them 3 center backs behind, but also it takes a little pressure off of Branthwaite, who is
exactly.
in for the first time in a while. He's sitting there playing, and yeah, I felt like you had 5 defenders there who needed to be in a position where they don't have a lot of pressure. All 5 of them, every
Exactly.
one of them benefited from being in a back 5. You know, Holgate, Keane, both of them, I think, had recently made some mistakes, and so having
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
now did they still maybe make some? Yeah, all right, but
But
okay. Let's really quickly talk about. Okay, no, go to what you're going to say, and then I'll move on.
okay, real quick, as much as I know Keane was at fault for the goal and the header. I mean,
Mhm.
the whole team shut down after that our goal in the first half, and then but he's going to get scapegoated for that, and he was responsible for that, man. But at the same time, on the flip side, I want to say positive things about Mason Holgate, because he has taken a lot of flack, and rightfully so, for some of his
Mm,
performances. But I thought he played one of his better matches in, I don't, almost 12 months
mm,
at that position.
good.
I thought this is because I think the pressure, having the guys back with him helps him out
Mm,
big time. I mean, just real quick, something like a real play at the very end when Huddersfield was trying to equalize toward the end. That Holgate got a header, and headed it out for a corner that was going to land at the feet of a Huddersfield striker had he not intervened right there. And that's
yeah,
one of those things that you
so
look
that.
for, and so you gotta. It's one of those things where he's been criticized, and so I would just want to give him a lot of credit for the fact that he stayed in that fight.
Doesn't Holgate usually do well in a 3? I feel like
Yeah,
he's excelled in a 3 before, and we've
he's
said,
much better
"Hey,
in a
is this?"
3 or a 5
Yeah,
set than he is
yeah,
at 4.
yeah.
Like whenever I see him as a part of a 2-man center back with 4, I cringe, because it's like, oh, the only guy I feel like that he pairs well with is Godfrey, and it doesn't
Well,
happen for him
I would
very often.
love when we play against these teams to have a little more quickness up front.
Hmm.
I mean, he and Godfrey are our quickest 2 center
Yeah,
backs. The idea of being able to roll with those 2 every once in a while and feel, like you're not going to get a letdown would be great,
right.
because he does provide some quickness. Um, so anyway, hopefully be able to continue to utilize him this season. I'm very curious. No, I was going to say their goals, but maybe we should we discuss our goals first, and then because they had at least one strange goal, and then they had a disallowed goal that was exactly like it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that we've talked about over the years. Everton's not defending on set pieces. And it's been a problem. Doesn't matter who's on the bench, who's the manager. We have had issues again on corners, and and I honestly, Gerry, you've been a fan long enough. It's the end of the half. They've got a corner. What's going to happen? Oh, right, there it is. I didn't even react because you just knew it was coming. And even the announcer who mistook Moise Kean for Alex Iwobi about 8 times.
Many times.
Did at least understand. Yeah, he said it. He's like, that was coming. And I was like, totally right. He was coming. Oh, and that was his first ever goal for Huddersfield, because of course it was.
Well, but did you notice, like on the replay, their second goal that got ruled out for offsides because he was blocking the view of the keeper. There was a player blocking the view of the keeper on the first goal too. I'd love to see the replay to see if the guy taking the corner had moved, or if he was still there, or if that player was still off. I'd be curious, because if it's the same situation, then both goals should have been ruled out.
Well, do we want to get into the officiating yesterday? Because
I wrote it down. The disallowed goals / officiating. So,
my goodness.
Yeah, because disallowed goals plural.
There are like academy games managed better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are.
I mean, that was just, I mean, that was pathetic. The Moise Kean disallowed goal, he was 2 yards on. Like, are you guys just not? Was there? I guess VAR didn't exist yesterday.
I think it's just nonsensical that some games have VAR and some don't.
Why? What is this? Like, if the FA institutes it, then why isn't it at every level of professional soccer there?
I do not get it. I've thought it was dumb since it. I mean, it happened in other tournaments. It happened like last year, and it was infuriating then. I just remember being maybe even the year before, just a frustrating decision to do that. And I'm sure they're gonna say something to the effect of, "Oh, they're not set up for VAR." Blah blah blah. Whatever. It's football. There's money. You can have VAR.
Got it.
It's
a big enough. That stadium is a Premier League size stadium. You can figure it out. Like this. Like, I do want to say though, like, we can talk about Moise a little bit because he obviously was involved in several things that happened yesterday. But I don't want to bury this, because for me, the man of the match was Alex Iwobi. That whole midfield, you could give that. If you get a group, the man of the match, the midfield. I mean, Tom Davies, another guy who had one of his best matches in months. He had an assist, that amazing, like the chest down, which started the break, which then he took the ball back and just carved Huddersfield Town down the middle and found Iwobi for the finish. Hey, look, in the past, when Iwobi had no confidence, he would have missed that. But he got it off his foot fast and got it past the keeper, scored. It really has been a revelation. At least these first few games, he's been the guy that we signed him for.
Yes, he's been involved one way or another in like every goal. Yeah,
and he got 4? He's been 4 involvements this already.
I mean, it's a lot. It's it obviously is not every goal because there was a penalty, but you know what I mean. It was a lot. Right. Yeah. I love seeing people excel when they've been struggling on confidence. I'm a huge fan of watching someone turn it around, you know?
Yeah. It's great too, because you know that like the abuse he probably gets on social media
Mhm.
anytime he posts something, and I don't even bother looking at the responses because I'm sure it's terrible, but it's just so nice to see like all the posts now about him. Like like the one that someone posted, it's like Rafa gave him new bed sheets and it's just beans, as his bed.
Yes. Okay,
It's
that's
like,
I didn't see that. That's
that you got to
brilliant.
check that out. That's fantastic, and it's
That makes me happy. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. But
I was
I'm
totally gonna
happy.
say I secretly miss the omelet with beans on it. So yeah.
Oh man, it's like and the other really cool thing that someone was mentioning was after the match, Rafa took Iwobi over to the traveling fans
I
because
heard.
to basically told him he played 10 minutes hurt. He was on a bum groin, and they basically like cheered his name and whatnot. And I think that's very important because he knew just how much abuse Alex had been getting and how down he'd been over a long period of time. I guess the negative part about that, of course, is that hopefully his groin injury isn't too bad and he's available Saturday. But normally, when you hear groin injury,
I know.
that's not good.
I know. You need to take a break.
Yeah, and he does. He's played virtually every game, so this would be a good time for him. And then he's got the international break afterwards, so probably going to be a time to rest him for a little bit.
I could see it. Yeah, I think it'd be smart.
Yeah.
So anything else about Huddersfield? I mean, we
talk about
win.
Keane.
He had an excellent finish.
He did. And
how good was that finish, man?
That's world class. That's far post, up top shelf. I mean, that's without thinking that he was on, and he was. And that's a world class goal. I just casually said it on Twitter, which don't do that. I just say things like, he's got to be smarter with his actions. Someone was like, that's not a red. I'm like, that's not the point. The point is okay, these guys are gonna bait you into this. They know they can bait you.
They will.
And that's what happened. You lost the ball, you chased after it. The guy also was getting mad too, and he shoved you in the back. Now that's a foul. Should have been a foul, should have been whistled. But at the same time,
was he trying to give us advantage? Is that why he didn't call it at first? Because it clearly was.
I think that could be, but then again, the officiating was so awful yesterday. I don't.
You can't assume competence at any turn.
So I just didn't want to assume anything. But then watching it again, like obviously he was. Everyone's getting, if the emotions are starting to get high, you get shoved in the back. You're already pissed off that you had a goal disallowed, but you can't, in front of a referee where he's standing 5 yards away from you, turn around, not just shove him, but then turn around and do it again. Like you're asking for this bad referee to basically put himself in the spotlight and make an example out of somebody. And
you also have to be careful about where your hands go.
Yeah.
Period. If you're making a decision to shove someone, you've got to realize that at this level, and actually most levels, if it gets anywhere above shoulders, you're gonna. If it just touches someone, people can make it look bad every time. So I would agree. I think you make a really good point. Is that it's not the point whether or not it's a red. I think you being a little bit more responsible for actions. I mean, I get it. It's a heated game, but you got to know. That's what's going to happen.
The reactionary person is going to get sent off before the guy who started it, and that's all I meant about that tweet. I got some responses to it. And I thought, I'm in the camp that I'm not sure Moyes wants to be here. It's obvious from some of his demeanors and some of his actions on social media that he's really angry that he's still there, and he's not getting the offers that I think Mino Raiola had promised him. And it was it's obviously, is that his
You mean
main?
like PSG?
Yeah, that's his agent, right? I think it is.
Oh, I don't actually know. I don't know who.
Okay.
I thought you had said Real, and I was
Oh,
like,
sorry, Mino
okay,
Raiola. Mino Raiola, the
okay,
agent.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean now. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's his agent. But yeah, PSG, when they didn't come back in, I think that really angered him because now what's happened is Messi's here and
yeah,
it's over. It's like, obviously we can't pay for you now. And
yeah.
Rafa didn't want to hear about it with a loan. So
Oh,
he, honestly, it's weird. I don't know what to make of him. Seeing him at the Florida Cup, he looked like he was really happy. Maybe that's because back then he thought, well, I'm out of here anyway in a month. So, but I think times have changed a little bit. You know, the telling thing is how a player reacts after a red, and he just walked off. He
yeah.
didn't really even offer really like get into the guy's face and like
No struggle, no argument to try to stay on.
no.
Nothing.
And it was like I honestly don't know what to make of him. He's a little bit of an enigma, and he's still really young too. I want to believe that he wants to be at Everton and succeed, but and my thing is like, dude, if you want to go to PSG or any of those clubs, you better start producing here because your career is going to be done very quickly unless you figure something out here. Because if you keep having these kinds of run-ins like this and you're not scoring, and I know he scored, but I want him to succeed. But this is just my patience is wearing thin with him right now.
Yeah.
Like you could have cost us the game yesterday, man. Like I know it's not a red, but still you can't do that.
Like I would absolutely love for him to come in, start smashing it. Be great. You know, I'd love for him to say, you know what, I'm going to earn my place. And maybe he comes in the last 20 minutes of games for a while because DCL's earned a starting spot. Or maybe we start every once in a while starting with two strikers. And you know, I mean, we've sort of done that every once in a while with Richarlison kind of be a second striker sometimes. You know, but you know, and him kind of slotting in there could be because there are times where he's talented enough to start for our team. There are times where, but it's just for me, it's an attitude and a work ethic kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, you can usually tell by an on-field demeanor about a player.
Yeah,
you know,
but
so it's disappointing, man.
I'll try not to read too much into it, but you know, it's just too much. You've seen too much of it over the last. He's clearly, you looked at him at PSG, and obviously when you're playing with Neymar and you're playing with Di Maria and people like that, you're obviously going to be a little happier than Mbappe. Yeah. But I mean, they're obviously world class, and they do a lot of the work, and it really takes a lot of pressure off of you.
It does.
But you know, and then whereas Everton, he has a lot of talent with him, but it's obviously not PSG. And I think he's bummed out that he's not back with his buddies down there.
Yeah.
So I just think hopefully Rafa or somebody talks to him and basically says, if you want to be back there, then start producing here. And hopefully he you know what, I don't want to read into stuff, but you know, when Iwobi scored, you know, and they're doing the celebration and behind the goal, I mean, he looked genuinely like happy.
I was psyched. I was so psyched to see him be a part of that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Because, you know, it's kind of, remember some celebrations he would just walk back, you know, but then like when he and Iwobi and him and Nkoku, you know, celebrated, that's cool. Yeah. Like maybe he wants to be here. We'll see. It's kind of to be continued.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit there and say he doesn't. Do I get the vibe he doesn't? Yes, I do. Yeah. I get that vibe. But he's also a young guy. And I changed a lot in my 20s. Just saying. Right. So, you know, he's a person, and so yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens with him in the next couple weeks and how what his attitude toward it is. So, all right, mailbag. Okay, let's do these quick because there's a lot of questions. I want to knock them all out. Okay.
Sure.
Let's start. Jake Holton sent in a question because he's just that guy. He said he'll take the call. He'll hang up and take it off the air. He's at fight camp right now.
Of course he is.
No, but we're not supposed to talk about it.
Is that the first or second rule or both? That is for both.
All rules. Jake, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. So Jake asked, do you think Richarlison will still be an Everton player after the window closes? And if he does leave, who's your dream player to replace him? Also, on Reddit, 9Yoshi5 asked, not verbatim, but almost the exact same question. So Yoshi, I want to make sure I mentioned you there. But yeah, do you think Richarlison will still be an Everton player after the window closes? You're on, Cam.
So as of this recording today, we heard a lot of conflicting things about Richie. And one was, both are from very reliable Twitter folks, both on the inside and out. Insiders saying Richie's agent has notified Everton to start looking for replacements because he's going to be gone in the next week. Then something came out after that, because I guess because of course something like that happens, Everton floods Fabrizio Romano's Twitch account and asks him like what the hell is going on right now. And, apparently Fabrizio Romano on his Twitch account said Richie's staying, and Everton believes he is also staying. So to answer the first part, I normally like to believe Romano because he's normally reliable. So I'm also trying to be optimistic here, because I don't think we can afford losing Richie if we are looking to actually finish top, 6, 7. There's no way.
It's also late in the window.
It's too late.
Late in the window.
It's way too late. We should have, if we were going to sell him, why didn't we do it a month ago? Because everyone knows how Everton does business, because it's not quick. So I do think Richie's staying. But if we want to do hypotheticals, and be pessimists and say, okay, well, he's gone. Who's coming in? There's been no shortage of rumors. And of course, by now, I think everyone that we were ever rumored to be linked with is now not going to come play for us. True. I think the latest was Correa is now going to Inter.
Yeah.
And
Cunha just went to Atletico.
Cunha is at Atletico now. Basically everyone that we were linked with is no longer on the market, which is another problem, that if Richie went, we wouldn't have anything. There wouldn't be anyone there. I guess if there was a dream person, I honestly was psyching myself up for Correa, because I know, but then again, on one side, Correa is insanely talented, and he played, him and Immobile were so good at Lazio. And it would have been such a dream player to have behind Dom. And but at the same time, Correa also had a aura about him like James does, where I'm only coming on because of this, and where James is here only because of Carlo Ancelotti. We know how that's been going lately. Now with Correa has been like, I want Champions League football and I want to play at Inter. Well, it's like, well, why in the world do we have an agreement with him if he doesn't even want to be here? That would have been a disaster. And we would have the same situation we've got with James right now. And but it would have been a really cool idea to have him there. There are lots of players, I really would have loved to have Leon Bailey, who's now at Aston Villa. That would have been someone I think would have been just a game changer. I hope they can get over the line with Matthew Hoppe from Schalke. I know that's not a sexy signing, but I feel like he's such a hard worker. He reminds me of Seamus Coleman, that type of player. Just somebody, we don't necessarily have to have a big money signing. It's not who we are anyway. It's that sort of thing. I know we got linked with Weston McKennie over from Juventus. I know he's now, it's more, I think West Ham and Villa are looking at him. But that's another kind of work rate guy that I would think would be a really nice signing for us. But I think, and I'm hopeful that I don't have to think about that anymore, because I think Richie is going to stay and I just see what your opinion is on that at this.
Well, I mentioned the possible like signings that were valued around 30 million. I wrote down as a dream player. The question was, who is your dream player to replace him? Well, I did not put dream player down because it was just, but the first thing I wrote was Pulisic.
Yeah, God, he's interesting.
Because he's not starting. That's what I mean. You know,
I don't get it.
But additionally, there's a lot of players that I really like that I think if you put a bid and it's enough, like it's Marcus Thuram, I think it's his name, at Gladbach, Torgan Hazard, I'd love, who's, I don't think he's completely ridiculous as far as his valuation. I like Moussa Diaby. I think that maybe more affordable. And a player I really like, and I mentioned last time, and I'm just going to say him again. And these are players who can play all across the line, like anywhere. But Jonathan David at Lille from Canada is a baller. I'd love to have an exciting player like that we could just insert in there, and I feel like he would bring even more athleticism. So, yeah, those are some players that would not be ridiculous money, but would be potentially some exciting, spark either off the bench or starting.
No, I agree. Pulisic. I'll start with Pulisic, and I'll name another guy who I thought we had literally had signed from Portugal. You know what I'm talking about. I thought we had him in, but who I really would have liked. Well, I'll start with him, Mateus Nunes. And I really was looking forward to him moving in as part of our team, part of our squad. I thought he was going to kind of be a dynamic game changer. That would have been someone I would have liked. But to go back to Pulisic, God, it's such a weird case study at Chelsea with him. Like, I know everyone knows how good he is. Like, it's just a matter of whoever's managing the squad. Obviously, Lampard loved him. Yeah. And he, a lot of playing time under him. Tuchel really has been very mum of him about whether or not he really wants to really thinks he fits in that squad. I mean, if I was Brands, I would maybe just make a inquiry to Chelsea about him. Because another thing is, if you look at Chelsea's chasing right now, which is literally everybody, but Saul at Atletico, and they were trying to grab Kingsley Coman from Bayern.
Ooh.
And Bayern told them 80 million, and they left, and they said no. Yeah. So, but Coman plays where Pulisic plays. And so clearly, if there's strong rumors that they're trying to grab these kinds of players, he must not think Pulisic is in the future plans for these guys, for Chelsea. Yeah. And that's really a shame to me, because I feel like he is such a good value to them, even though they've got a lot higher priced players and bigger names than him. I think he has held his own there for 2 years. I would absolutely bend over backwards if I was Everton to try and grab him. I know it would obviously be a little bit of a step down for him, but it's still one of those things where, well, do you want first team football? Because you play in our squad every single week. I mean, it's kind of like, in a lesser degree, it's Terry Small moving to Southampton. Like, you want first team football, you've got it right here, dude. Yeah. Obviously, Richarlison plays on the left wing, but Richarlison has also demonstrated he can play in the middle and he can play up top. So, yes, now that you mentioned Pulisic, now I want great.
Well, probably not going to have him, but it'd be fun. It'd be fun, and I'd love to see him prove his durability a little more too. By the way,
that too. Yep.
I'd love to see that. One of the brothers McAllister, Paul, has asked, if you could attend one game this season, which one and why?
I'm going to. I'm attending the derby in December. I'm going to the Tuesday Derby at Goodison. That was been a dream match for me, and obviously we talked about this before the recording started. It's going to be myself and Roger Smith from Winston-Salem, his son Owen, who's actually in the academy there in the Euro. I know you're talking about the Fusion.
Yeah, we were recording the U23 practice, and they had brought in a couple of the younger players to play with them before playoffs. And there's Owen sitting there. He's like, "Hey, I know you, man."
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't realize it. I was sitting there filming Owen, didn't even realize it. Yeah.
Every time I talk to Roger, Owen's doing something else crazy for the academy. He's a good player. And but anyway, we are all going we're going over right after Thanksgiving. Actually, I think Roger's going for Thanksgiving, which I don't know if he's going to be divorced by the end of this, but I'm going. I even as someone who is not married, I know for a fact that I'm not allowed to leave the country until after Thanksgiving. So I made sure to leave for that. So what we're doing is we were originally going to try and go to Brentford for the match on Saturday. That would have been pretty cool, but we put that in the air. We've decided we might just go closer to Liverpool in the very beginning. And I suggested to them, I was like, well, wait a minute, who's that team that in Wales that Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds bought?
Wrexham.
I was like, oh, that's AFC Wrexham. And then I looked at where Wrexham was, and I'm like, Wrexham's only an hour and a half train ride from Liverpool. And it's, to my knowledge, and because I think it's in the northern part of Wales, and they have a home match. And I was like, well, what if we do that? And then we go sightsee Wales after that. I'm like, perfect. And then, so we might do that. But then Tuesday is the most random derby day maybe ever. It is a Tuesday evening, but it's at Goodison. And so that's the dream match that I want to go. And then we will be there also for the following weekend against a home game against Arsenal. So, but yeah, I've always dreamt about going to a derby, what that's like. And I'm very excited, hopefully, as long as things kind of hold, that we will be over there in a couple of months to experience that.
Yeah, I've never gone to a game. So this question from Paul is sort of like a tough one, because I'm kind of like, I'd settle for watching them play Tranmere. You know what I mean? Like I would watch anything. I mean, the knee-jerk reaction is a home derby, right? I mean, if when the one you're going to, right? I mean, that's the knee-jerk. One would think that's that would be the way to do it. But also, I mean, that's intense for your first one, right? Should that be your first? Should your first Everton match be
no. No, I don't.
You know what I mean?
You got to ease your way in, and it's like my first ever game was Stoke City, and 5 years ago, and that was a good one to ease into because it was a kind of a physical battle, defensive battle. Leighton Baines scored the winner because it was a penalty that actually bounced off of Stokes. It bounced off the post, and then it hit Shea Given in the back of the head when he was trying to grab it, and it went in, which was I would say very Stoke and very. We didn't see it because we had obstructed view, so it was a very Everton match. So, but that was my first ever. And I would recommend whenever you decide to go over, first off, make sure you get there to Goodison before it closes, because that is legendary.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. Yeah, absolutely going to happen. No, I think I think I would probably pick Norwich, because that way I can that way it's not enormous stakes. But at the same time, I'd be able to, and I'd get my Everton experience, but I'd also get to watch Josh Sargent play for Norwich. Boom.
There you go.
Not a bad little pick there. Okay. There you go, Paul. So, next question from, let's see here. I really want to get to this one. Alfie Lloyd asked one that I have been particularly interested in. I've been doing a lot of interviews with players about this stuff, and I just think it's a good question. Everton are looking to spend money on young male and female players. Why is there not a constant supply of young North American players in the EPL? Is the problem coaching, culture, scouting, skill, desire, etc.? How can the numbers be increased? Okay.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, first of all, we have to keep this quick, but that's a whole show.
That's whole show.
Alfie, you just need to know that is a can of worms.
The reason being is it's all of the above.
Yes.
And
it is.
that's a short answer for you. There's because we could get into a litany of problems with Major League Soccer, U.S. soccer, and why there's so much stunted growth with players being grown here. We're seeing it. I mean, I can just tell you a short answer. Also, Jurgen Klinsmann was absolutely right when he was our manager about players needing to go out into Europe and around the world to play and stop playing in Major League Soccer. I want Major League Soccer to succeed because it only will help growth here, especially at the young ages and academies. But right now, like if you're good enough, you need to be outside of this country playing, as has been proven time and time and time again.
Okay.
But I mean, but yeah, the long story short, it's a whole litany of problems. It is all of the above, Alfie. That is,
yes.
We have a problem at homegrown issue right now with U.S. soccer.
I'll point out, the movie we're making, bunch of college players, almost all of them international, who have come from different academies from different countries, Spain, England, Portugal. They're coming from academies over there. For one reason or another, things didn't work out at those academies. Okay. They come over here and they come to their college program and they're like the best players at their college programs. Okay. They're good. They're very good players. They come over here and they're even better by comparison. Okay. Now, think about the fact that those players come over here and they excel, and they did not work out at the academies in England and in Spain and all those places. Okay. I would say that one of the big problems is our players aren't good enough. There's not enough good players, like period.
No.
Like we're not there yet. And a big part of it, you mentioned coaching, culture, all that. If we had better players, they'd be able to compete with some of these really good players that are coming in from overseas and and the bummer about those players, by the way, there's really good players from overseas that are coming in and playing for American colleges. They can't play pro very often because there's a maximum amount of players, that international players, that are allowed on MLS,
which is completely insane.
Yes,
completely insane.
So that good players are just stalling out.
The last country that had that in place was England, and that was back in the late 80s, early 90s, before the Premier League really got going. England was kind of a holdout country. They didn't want international players playing in their league. But as everyone else told them, do you not want to be like a really good league? Because it was a good league, but England was so full of itself in terms of like the fact that we believe we have the best players already. Now, that's not what the US thinks, but that's what England felt like. But then once they finally started introducing player visas and whatnot, and letting these international players come in, and I think United was like one of the first clubs that did that, in terms of like Cantona and all those guys that came in, the quality immediately just went like that. And then it was like unlimited amount of players should be coming in here, and you shouldn't be restricting them on doing anything. And we're still like, Major League Soccer has a 20th century problem, as US soccer does. Like we're still living back there. So many pundits like Stu Holden and Lexi Lawless, Taylor Twellman, they all have said the same problem still exists. And when they were playing, like the US soccer has not advanced and progressed with everyone else, and that's why we're stuck where we are right now.
Yeah, and we just don't have a huge identity as a soccer country. There's not a a defined style. Right now, they're trying to manufacture one with Berhalter, and it's good results. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great to see some results. I'm not going overboard. I'm not going to sit there and be like, we deserve our top 10 ranking. I don't know about that. But won some games. I'm excited. It's cool. I feel like I allowed to be a little excited.
Make up more tournaments so we can beat Mexico.
Yes. but I mean, I think it really does start with culture and people knowing enough about the sport. I mean, I'm having, as a parent, I'm having to like manufacture a soccer culture for my kids in order to make sure they get enough touches on the ball. Because in other countries, they're playing in the backyard, they're playing at the park, they're playing in the street, they're playing in a cage down the road. You know what I mean? And they're playing all the time. Here,
all the time.
They're not doing that. They're not doing that at all. And I have to figure out a way to give my kids touches and have them still enjoy it, right? Because you can't sit there. You can't put your kid in 10 leagues because they get to the point where they're like, soccer again. You know what I mean?
It's a life over there. And it doesn't matter where you are, what country you're in. I mean, specifically, I'll say England because that was the last country I traveled to. And if you're driving down, it doesn't matter what city, you will see schools, you'll see the kids in school, but then you'll see the field right there. You'll see the kids playing field. There's just everywhere. You're right, yeah. Exactly. And then I took the train down to France, and I was in just taking the train, like seeing, like going through cities and towns, same thing. Kids are playing. Like it is a religion down there, and it's out over there. It's not religion here. We would rather, we have the luxury of so many different sports that we could play, but parents are still not putting their kids through, at least if they eat through football, and if they are, it's not the rigorous football that you are needed to have in order to succeed at the level these guys are playing at.
True. Yeah. Basically, Alfie, it's a complicated answer. It stems from the fact that it's a young sport in this country. We don't know what to do with it. It's a really big country with a lot of distance in between communities. There's just a lot of reasons. And don't even get me started on the women's soccer. Don't get me started. That's a different conversation.
Completely.
It'll take a while.
We really can't talk about it because then we're unloading like just a new can of worms. There.
It's a big old can, and it's a can that should be talked about. But I mean,
it should be. Oh, because anyway. You want to talk about what's backwards about U.S. soccer? There you go. Yeah. They're right there. I would say, like, just as a final, one of my good friends and colleagues from Carolina Toffees, Brock, down in Greenville, he played collegiate soccer. He'd be someone who'd be very good to talk to, because I know there is a great chance he definitely played with all international players. So
I will tell you, as someone who played college ball, actually just outside of Charlotte.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, lots of international players, lots of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? I was psyched to have them, and they were some of the best players I've ever played with in my life.
Oh, they are.
Yes.
And we have, and our colleges here in the Carolinas are some of the best in terms of talent in the entire country. But yeah, I mean, it's all international. There's a couple of homegrown, but it's mostly international. You're right.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and it's definitely not on the international players. They're good. They're coming here for opportunity, and they're wedging right in. They're awesome, but it's just, that's part of our system here. Our pro system almost always usually involves college and D1 college at that.
It's basically how you're going to get through life is college, but that's not necessarily how the rest of the world kind of looks at that. Like,
Yeah. So, moving on, really quick, good as Sean from Reddit said, how do you think Gray and Townsend will stack up against our previous wingers in more recent years, like Morales, De La Feu, Lennon, those types of players? First of all, I will say I've been thinking we're going to get another winger for some reason.
Yeah.
So I will say that. What do you think, though? How do you think they're going to, when this season is said and done, how do you think we're gonna be looking at those two players?
Yeah, I mean, the early returns are great, and quite
Right?
honestly, it's you really, it's again, Papa Marcel's sitting right behind you. And
Yeah.
I mean, he gets, man, he's another guy. It's a weird subculture on Twitter that gives him so much crap all the time, and I'm thinking, I know he's been here for 3 years, maybe now, and it's still not all his fault what's going on right in this club.
No.
I mean, the
No.
previous regimes have absolutely screwed over this club and in terms of their finances. And he basically had to go and find guys that were A, cheap, and B, willing to play here. And C, oh, by the way, also still good. And
And also he's also got to contend with the fact that other people want to make some signings, and he's
yeah,
having to be okay with that, right?
mhm, right. And he is basically playing with the cards he's been dealt right now. And look, there have been some questionable signings in the last couple of years, but overall he's done a good job. And I mean, Gray and Townsend combined was like a 1.5 million. And so it's tough to beat that right off the bat. And if you had told me in the first 3 games this season that both of them would have goals and both of them were critical goals, I would have said that I don't know about that. Stacking them up against previous midfields, like, man, I really, really wanted Delafeu to be good and be like
I
a
know.
10-year player. We had this discussion. He's I I'll never forget when he scored against Arsenal away and did the guns at the Everton
Yeah.
fans like that. And it was just like, oh my God, he's going to be amazing. He's going to be here forever. And he was gone. It was almost like a magic trick. He was gone. Like
Yeah.
Morales was always an enigma. He was so amazing. He could be one of the best midfielders in the Premier League.
He
One week,
used
and
to be so much fun to watch, man. He
yes,
was so fun to watch.
I love that guy. And when he was on his game, again, he was untouchable. He could do no wrong. But then it would just turn into like then another week he would just be just awful, the worst pit guy. It was never middle ground with him. It was always like here or here. So I think it's too early to talk about comparing these two to these guys, but the early returns are really good. I think if they continue this trend of just being in the right position, setting people up for goals, scoring at an opportunistic time, they're going to be they'll be talked about over at least in the last decade as one of the better signings that has been made by this club. I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, finish, man. I didn't mean to
Sorry.
interrupt.
I thought Townsend's signing was very, very sneaky good because it was a free transfer. It was I believe it was a free, and because he was a free agent. And I thought, he's still got something there. I think he's 30 years old, but it's still, he's shown at Palace that he was still a very reliable midfielder, especially coming in from the right-hand side. Gray was a guy I remember when Leicester played him. He was dynamic on the field, and he just kind of lost his way in Germany. I think he just never adapted to that football and to that country and to the way of life there. He was so homesick, I think, that he wanted to come back, and he's clearly already demonstrated that he's back where he wants to be. So it's just he was basically but he was surplus at Leicester, and that's something I can't believe I've said that. But we now live in a world where Leicester City, they're a Premier League champ, and they have amazingly well. They didn't need him. They've proven that over the years, and so but that we reap the spoils from that because I think we've got a very, very top class player in midfield for not much money. But I think they're going to both be good. I think they'll be there for a couple of years, and they will establish themselves as some of our better players.
Like I'll be really I'll be really, really amazed if they finish the season, if people are singing their praises as being amazing signings. I feel like we are going to remember them as underrated. You know what I mean? I think they're both going to do well. I think the locker room energy that Townsend is bringing, the grafting, the experience. I mean, that goal he scored against Huddersfield was, yes, it was so nice. I mean, but it was just being where you're supposed to be and finishing, you know, making that run in behind and slicing in front of the keeper and getting the ball in. It was nice. And Gray, every time he gets the ball, you're thinking, okay, what's he going to do now? Because he's electric, you know?
Right.
But at the same time, you know, they're not the big money flash players. And I feel like, you know, until they get a season, we're going to be thinking, gosh, we got a deal on those guys, you know, instead of thinking, oh my God, the way we do about Seamus Coleman. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm hoping after a few years, we're going to say, oh my God, based on that.
Especially someone like Gray, because he's younger.
Yeah. Gray's the one that I had higher hopes for, to be honest.
Oh yeah. When that was first rumored that he could be coming over, I thought, well, wait a minute, isn't this the guy that was on Leicester when they won the league? And then it was like, what happened to him? And
the guy Steve Walsh wanted.
That's right. And it was, well, boy, that's a name. You know, he works for the Independents now. Anyway.
He's supposed to work with FC, is what I heard. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we're not going to talk about that, but he is on FC. He's with FC. But Gray is I guess he's something like he's 24, and he basically came in as like 1.5 million, and he's demonstrating just if you're coachable, then you can play, and if you've got the talent, you can play. Like this, Townsend has always proven that he can play, and he's got all the talent in the world, and he's coachable. That's another thing. Exactly, it's like that setup for that goal yesterday, where basically it's so basic, but it can be complicated because you have Gomez and you've got Iwobi, like playing each other in that triangle, and then Townsend knew as soon as that ball got played to Gomez is like, get over to that side of the box, and all he did was that, and he flicked it over the keeper, and that is incredibly difficult to do, by the way. And but that is something that gives you to the likes of Everton supporters, because you put in the work. You're basically there for free. Of course, you're making money per week, but it's a free transfer, and you're putting in the work all the time. You're not making mistakes. You're gearing yourself. You are a leader in the club and the dressing room, which is another thing. You know, eventually we're going to have to replace Seamus with that, and we've got to find somebody who's going to take over.
Yeah,
is it Townsend? It could be, even for a little bit. Maybe Gray, maybe someone else, but it's nice to have that extra voice, and I'm sure Seamus appreciates that.
So almost done here. Gwen was asked best transfer before Jagielka. So Gwen is from Carolina Toffees. Got to give, and he got this question in just under the deadline.
6:58 p.m. Eastern.
Best transfer before Jagielka and the best transfer since he left.
Okay. Jags came in 2007. Yes.
You're right. I looked it up. It's 2007. Look at you.
Okay.
With your rightness.
For me, I care. I don't know. Maybe I just go on Wikipedia too much. But for me, then finding that and knowing that, it's easy for me what the best transfer was before Jags. It's because it's my favorite player, Tim Cahill, from Millwall in 2004. It was another very small money transfer of a guy nobody really knew about. This was the David Moyes special. Nobody knew who he was except that he was Aussie. But, then he went on to become, in my opinion, one of the most legendary players the club's had, especially in recent memory.
Mhm.
This century, I think you could argue he's the best player they've ever had, aside of maybe Lukaku. But the fact that they grabbed him from Millwall and with the career that he had from 04 to 12 was
Yeah.
just, I mean, the work rate was nothing short of legendary, and everybody talked about that played with him. He was always the fierce leader on the pitch and off the pitch, and you could just see like he's not one of the bigger players on the pitch, but how many headers did he score in 8 years?
Gosh. Yeah.
He was out muscling
Absurd.
these big center halves to get in. It was just unbelievable, and I think I may have 2 or 3 of his shirts, like not his, but replicas, just because I wish I could. But hey, Tim, I know you're on social media a lot.
You're like, I hang out by his trash bins, and he throws his old shirts out. So hey.
Yeah. But Tim for me is the best before Jags, and that's at least in recent memory. I know there people will go back way before that, obviously, because anyone that was on those teams in the 80s that we grabbed that helped us win the league, helped us win the European Cup champions. And just right off the top of my head, I can't. It's because it's too early for me in terms of being alive, and it's also in terms of the fact that I don't want to speak out of turn when he was at Andy Gray or something like that.
See, that was my issue. Is I, being who I am, I was not watching Everton before Jagielka before, and so if I weigh in on a transfer, then it's gonna come across as it's gonna ring false, and that's why I didn't immediately chime in on that one. I was kind of like, I will feel fake, and so
because I can't say about people that I didn't watch. So
but what's funny is I was looking it up and I was like, ooh, when did Bain sign? Ooh, because that's my favorite. Ooh, and it said he signed in 2007.
Right, with Jags.
So I'm like, wait a minute, was it before or after? Like what? So that was my answer is Baines, because I can't give you one before. And so that's my best transfer on that one. John, Toffee Blues John, also asked what Everton signing was most and least memorable. Okay, so my most memorable Everton signing was Lukaku. It's just
memorable. Yes, absolutely.
Nuts. Whole thing
was the whole Twitter went absolutely berserk when that happened. And the fact that I remember, was that 2014, after we had him on loan, and we figured, well, we're not going to get him because he's too good. He's going to go somewhere else. And Chelsea has him, so maybe he'll just go back there. But then I'll never forget this, and you won't either. Him tweeting a picture of himself in the private jet, like, where is he going? Where is he going? And then all of a sudden you hear people saying, well, because this is how psycho people are. Oh, well, they're tracking a jet from London to.
Yeah, they are.
It's like, oh crap! And then all of a sudden there he is in Liverpool at the airport. He's like, oh my God, this is actually happening.
Yep.
And there he is, and it was like, that is insane that we've got him as an actual transfer, and for at the time, and I still can't believe we signed him for as little as we did. I mean, it's a lot of money, but not for someone like him and Mourinho. Right. Like, dude, you just gave up on this guy, and that leads me to another diatribe.
They did that a lot. They did that a lot.
Gave up on Bruyne. I mean, Salah. Yeah, I mean, that gets me into, like, I think I mentioned this on Twitter. Look, it's great for Chelsea. Great, you got him back for way too much money. But remember, you guys had him 10 years ago. And I also want to point out to any Chelsea fan that might watch this, because I pointed it out on Twitter, as it was actually pointed out by the Iowa Toffees. The account, their welcome video for Rom featured his goal by us against Chelsea in the FA Cup.
Saw it. I saw it.
Because they had no other video of him scoring. So they figured they could try and get away with, because he's wearing a blue shirt. It's like, you guys think we'd pick up on this?
It's so funny. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yes, he is the most memorable. You're right. He's the most memorable signing. My favorite signing post, to answer Gwen again, Jags, post Jags. Because Braum could have been it. How about, Yelovich? He was it was a crazy signing. Nobody had ever heard of him. And then he goes absolutely berserk for about 18 months. Like he has his own video from Everton of all his goals he scored because he scored that many goals.
Yep. And they're almost all like one-touch goals.
And they were incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I could throw Naismith in there too, but it's but
Yelovich is the reason. Yelovich is the reason I'm an Everton fan. So yeah.
Oh wow.
That's
okay.
Yeah. Because of the Spurs game, they scored. Yeah. That was massive, and that's what turned.
The 2012, right? I believe he had scored the goal, and then he scored again at the very last.
I think Pinar scored the first one, and then we scored at the last second. Yeah, and he went and grabbed the dude's hat and put it on. Nuts. Yes.
That was
big moment for me.
It was just another classic Moyes signing, though. That was just, he found some guy that was not going to cost a lot of money, and he just has. In my opinion, in this century, that was the most incredible 18 months that a player has ever had for Everton. Because it was just like goal after goal after goal. He just didn't stop.
Who is your least memorable signing as we finish up mailbag?
Least memorable signing. Does that mean like
however you want to do it?
Wow.
It was not specified, and I have a name.
You do? Okay.
It's specifically memorable because it's not memorable for me.
Ooh, okay. Go ahead. I'll since you have it.
We signed this guy, and I'm thinking, oh, we're signing a backup striker. Okay. And then we hear, oh, he's from the Uruguayan league.
Ooh.
Okay. And I was like, what's the deal with this guy? And I was actually sort of psyched. Leandro Rodriguez.
Ooh, there's a name.
Yeah, that was one. I ended up feeling bad for him later down the road because I think he had, some emotional stuff because he was kind of down, homesick, and all that stuff, being away from South America. But yeah, he came in. We bought him for 300 and something thousand pounds. Not much at all. It was the weirdest signing. It was like someone. It's like we were doing someone a favor. It was so strange. But I mean, it's the fact. That's the thing. It was just such a bizarre thing. That's the only reason why it's a little memorable. But it didn't do like even at least like Antolin Alcaraz started some games. So you remember?
Oh, he
started some games, but. But I would say even Kuko was a better signing than Alcaraz. But anyway. But yeah, so that's my least memorable. Was Leandro.
You've made me think. Okay, I'm going down that path now. So I got two. One is a guy that never played for us because he never got his visa. Henry Ngankwu.
Onyekuru. That's a good one. What a good one.
Well, it's like, what the hell? Like, you guys touted him, and then all of a sudden, you can't even get in the country. Although now, I think the last I heard about him, he's not doing well wherever he is at all. So he may have.
I thought it was at Galatasaray. I don't know.
Yeah, and he's not doing anything there. He may have dodged a bullet. The other one, I'm more disappointed in because God, he was so good the first game, and then it was like, nope, never again. Ademola Lookman. And it was just like he had such a, if you recall, it was a January signing 2017 under Koeman, and it was a great signing, at the time because his first game he scored against Man City. And it was like, wow, this kid is actually good. And then it was like, well, let's follow that up. And it never happened. And the next thing you know, he's demanding that to go elsewhere. And then Leipzig takes him on loan. He ends up doing really well, actually, on loan there. But when they bought him, then he underwhelmed. And I guess, I don't even know where he is now. He was at Fulham. I don't know where he is anymore. But he's kind of floundering now in like, because he's mid-20s and he's basically at the point where his career is either going to go this way or it's going to go down. But it's really underwhelming because it was a £10 million signing from where was he at? Charlton. And so I really thought he was going to pan out for us, but he had other ambitions. He didn't want to be there. So.
Well, he wanted to start. He was pulling so many players.
Yeah.
They want to start immediately. They don't want to struggle through. If they feel like there's something blocking their way, they're like, no, I want to be somewhere where they really want me, and that's what I want. And that's what Moise Kean is dealing with right now. Same kind of thing. So
yeah, very similar.
Man, all right. So there was one last question from John. I threw this too early. Best and worst Star Wars film.
Ooh.
We got to be fast. Can't give reasons why.
Okay. Best Empire Strikes Back.
Agreed.
Awesome. Worst, what was the one called? The second one with Hayden Christensen. That one.
So
talking about sand.
Not Phantom Menace.
No,
not Revenge of the Sith.
That was not great. The other one.
Episode 2.
Yes.
Episode 2.
When he talked for 5 minutes. When he talked the Attack of the Clones, right?
Attack of Clones.
Is that?
Yeah, I agree. That's my least favorite.
Is that because that's the one where he literally sits out there with Padme and just talks about sand for about 10 minutes.
Yes.
I was like, what is this?
Anyone who had any faith in Lucas's dialogue writing abilities still at that time lost it there. If they didn't already lose it, the whole first movie when he came back.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So agreed, both counts. I don't see how anyone can argue with you. You're right. Period.
Honorable mention. Rogue One.
Rogue One's
for
fine.
best. For best. Yes.
I like it.
Because that was a sneaky good movie. It just came out of nowhere.
I'm with you. Also honorable mention Spaceballs. Okay.
Hey-o.
So, all right. So really quick Brighton preview. We have to be super fast here because we're running out of time. Current form, they're fourth in the Prem. They're 2-0, 6 points. Recently, Carabao Cup win 2-0 over Cardiff. Before that, they beat Watford 2-0, and then beat Burnley 2-1. They started off pretty well, folks. Possible starters, not completely sure because it looks like Maupay may be actually hurt, and he's been one of their main danger men in terms of goal score this season. But I think we could see Sanchez in goal, Webster, Duffy, and Dunk maybe in a back three, Gross and Solly March on the outsides, and then in the middle, Lallana, Bissouma, McAllister, Connolly, and Trossard rounding it out. Honestly, I usually am fine with Brighton. I usually don't hate Brighton. I know all the hard, I'm Premier League, are like, they never win, blah, blah, blah. They only play Graham Potter football, blah. Yeah. I actually like Graham Potter. I don't like saying it out loud because I feel like it totally discredits me to all the grumpy Premier League fans, but I like Potter. I think he's a cool guy. I like his philosophy and I like watching his teams play. But at the same time, his teams give up a lot of goals.
Yeah, not right now, but yes, normally they do.
They usually do. So yeah,
I'm on the Potter camp as well. I would have not minded him being our manager this year. I think
I
he
like the
plays a good
culture he
brand.
brings to teams, dude.
Yeah,
I like the culture.
all the players at Brighton seem to like him and
Mhm.
play hard for him. They look, and yeah, they normally do give up a lot of goals, but they've been very stingy so far, which is why they're fourth in the league. Um,
Yeah.
when I want to say this quickly. Shane Duffy scored in the last
Yes, he
game,
did.
which means maybe he's already got his quota. But again, it is Everton, so they do need a goal scored. If Mopé's out, then who
Mm.
knows? Basuma is someone you mentioned earlier. Been a really
Love that
nice
guy.
signing. If we um, they have some very sneaky good players on that team.
Yeah, they do.
Pascal Gross,
I've loved
I would
that guy.
describe him
His
more.
final ball is so good, dude.
Yeah, final ball is really good, and that's something our back line is going to have to be very careful about, especially if
Mhm.
Mopé's in this game.
Yeah.
We have the way we have beaten Brighton in the past is just attack them, and it just really kind of put them on their back heel. The way that they win is they get into games late. They work their way in to games, and then once they do, they start attacking more and more, and that's how they're beat. I mean, look, they absolutely demolished Watford last week. That Watford was not in that game, and that's a Watford side that threw 3 into the goal against Villa in the first week. So you've got to be very careful with this team. I think this is going to be a very difficult game for Everton to get even a point out of. I think they're going to get a point. I'm going to say just real quick. I think this is going to be like Leeds. I think it's going to be 2-2, and it's going to be goals will be scored. I hesitate because it's there. If this was at Goodison, this would be a win for me. But this is just a different Brighton side than I can remember, and it's gonna be a charged crowd at the Amex. I think. Look, I don't think I'd be surprised if Everton got 3 points out of it. I also won't be surprised if Brighton took 3 on Saturday either. It's just one of those games that could really just go either way. Saturday.
I'm pulling out the 3 points, 1-0 win to Everton. I feel like a back line with Coleman, Mina, Godfrey, and Luka Dean, and Pickford in goal, Decore and Alan. I feel like those guys, I think they can pull off a clean sheet. I think they can. Now,
okay.
I think if Iwobi's still dealing with groin issues, we could see Townsend and Gray and Richarlison and DCL rounding out the starting lineup. That list of starters would not shock me at all. But yeah, I'm saying a 1-0 Everton win. And let's see here. I'm going to get creative with the goal scorer. I'm going to say, gotta go Yerry Mina. I got to do it. Yerry Mina.
Okay.
He's due for dance. Yeah.
He's due for one.
Let's do it.
I hope so. That would be amazing because he'll put something out. Yeah, for a celebration.
Just want to see him dance.
That's it. I just on that in that note, I won't say Mina, but I will say goals scored because I said 2 for us. I will say Dom and Richie. It's not original, but I think
it's damn likely.
But it's so likely. I'll say it's Richie also to see him dance.
Yes, good, cool. All right.
But yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, that is the show. Cam, you've survived. Congratulations. That mailbag was a long one, and having to review 2 matches also a little, took a bit, but we're through. Cam, you got anything you want to plug or any shout outs you want to do here at the end?
So obviously we've had a lot of new members come into Carolina Toffees and move into our area. What's unique about our group is that we have a Twitter account, which I run, Instagram as well, that covers both North and South. And so, in fact, today we had a guy who people may have seen asking about who he should support. He actually lives in Columbia, South Carolina. His name's Zach. trying to shout him out. He's originally from Ohio. He now lives in South Carolina. So it looks like we may have gotten him on board. And but he's just one of several people that are now in this area that are finding out, that are starting to support the club. And just want to let you all know, at Carolina Toffees, Twitter and Instagram, if you are, I've also updated a giant map for your pleasure that shows each area of both North and South Carolina and what pubs you can go support in different cities. I believe Raleigh, which is the Winchester, Winston-Salem, which is Campus Gas, and Roger Smith, and yours truly, Gerry, are both there. Charlotte, Queen City, Bites and Craft, of course, where I am. Asheville has the Old London Road Pub, and then Greenville is usually Yeehaw Brewery, and that's Gwyn and Brock. And then Columbia is Cock and Bull and British Bulldog, and then My Father's Mustache in Charleston, which is actually in Mount Pleasant. But the point is, we have a ton of support.
There's so many places to go watch a game with your fellow Everton fans. You know?
Yeah, and if you guys, and if anybody knows of any other place, if Wilmington is the predominant city I've heard that has no actual pub, and I've heard a lot of people ask about that. If you live in Wilmington, just let everybody know where you go so that we can plug that.
That would be awesome. Very cool. All right, any of you other lost lambs who are thinking about joining the Everton flock, and you happen to be in the Carolinas, there's a home. Numerous homes. All right. Cam, thanks so much, man. I'm going to do my end of show spiel here. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching and or listening. If you've been digging what you're hearing and seeing, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel and or podcast. Please check out the Toffee Blues website. The new website is happening. So I'm just going to say that it's happening. John's been working on it. He just won't stop talking about it. Just saying, it's a thing. Check it out. Additionally, follow the Toffee Blues on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. That's all I have. Cameron, it's good to talk to you, my friend.
Great seeing you, Gerry.
And I'm gonna go hang out with my wife for 10 minutes before I go to sleep. Cam, take care, man.
See you, man.
Everybody else.
The Blues.
Yep, 3 points this weekend, everybody. Let's do it. Much love. Bye.